And they're not the only options, alright? You have other options too. You have naughty options. Naughty arm bends. Everything else stays still. They're the only 3 bits that are allowed to move. Okay, and that sounds crazy. Yo, what's going on, guys? Rhys here from Modern Lifting with the Modern Lifting Podcast. Conversations about calisthenics, bodyweight training, gymnastics, all that good stuff. I'm Rhys, a personal trainer from the UK and founder of ModernLifting.com. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about handstand stability. Alright, we've spoken about some really boring stuff. Now we're going to talk about handstands. So, yay! Handstands are fun. Alright, you know I'm a big fan of handstands. And they're so, oh mate, you can just do them anywhere. Anyway, we're not going to go into all that stuff already. I'm going to start rambling before you even got into it. Handstands are awesome. But learning to do a handstand, getting up into a handstand, that's the easy part. Alright, the hard part is learning to stay in a handstand, training yourself to be stable. Okay, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode. Alright, but first, I haven't really talked about myself very much, so a quick update on what I've been up to. I have been struggling with my hand still. Alright, it gets a bit better. I'm working my little extensor bands. I'm working them. I'm doing my little finger eccentrics and stuff on the ground, like Jason the physio told me. And I've been working hard, Jason. I've been putting the work in. Alright, I haven't been doing handstands except for when I've been coaching, and I've had to. Alright, I've avoided it as much as I could. So thumbs up, mate. I hope you're hearing this and you're listening and you're like, yeah, well done, because I feel like I deserve it, you know. Anyway, we're going to be talking about handstands. I haven't been able to do a lot of handstand recently, and it has sucked. All right, because I was working so hard on my one arm, on my hollow back, on all these things, and it's just put such a standstill on it right through summer. It's been a total pain in the backside. Anyway, I'm still going to help you guys get better at handstands. Don't worry, I ain't forgotten about you. So let's talk about these things. So like I say, getting up into a handstand, that's the easy part. Yeah, that's the easy part. Learning to do rollouts, learning to do a turn and plant, or a dirty cartwheel, as Michael calls them, or just doing like kick up, just kind of straight, come down as you normally would to a stand. What do you even call that? Just coming down, landing on your feet safely. Alright, once the dismounts, they're easy, is my point. They're well easy as well. So learning the dismounts, the hardest part is doing the rollout. Learning to handstand, the hardest part is kicking up enough and being okay, like falling over and doing your forward rolls or your dismounts or whatever. The hard part is staying still, is staying in the handstand, staying up in the skill. Alright, and skill, that's really important, because that's what it is. It's a skill, which means it's not about muscle, it's not about strength, it's about stability and control. Alright, so how do you stay stable? Yeah, that's the big question. Like, really, you have 3 options, like 3 kind of good options, ones you're allowed to do, as far as the Rhys goes. Alright, number 1 is wrists, so adjusting with your hands, using your forearms to adjust your position. And then the next one is your shoulders, obviously. And your shoulders, your arms are straight, so your shoulders are kind of doing that job, like aligning your arms and your back, preferably open shoulders. All right, and then the next one's your hips. All right, because your legs are straight, don't want to be wiggling around your legs everywhere, because you'll lose them. You'll lose your sense of coordination and your positioning, and you'll ruin it. So you want to keep your legs straight, which means the only other point is your hips. All right, and these 3 points kind of all work together when you have really good handstand technique and you stay nice and straight. And that sounds complicated, because you're like, oh, my hand, my wrists, my shoulders, and my hips, they're so complicated. That is the easiest way. All right, trust me, it's the easiest way. Staying straight and pointy and just using those is the absolute easiest way of staying stable. It's still hard, don't get me wrong, but that is the easiest way. Okay, and like I say, these kind of all work together, because your arms are straight, core's tight, so your back's nice and stable, and your legs are pointing with your nice pointy toes, so everything else stays still. They're the only 3 bits that are allowed to move. So they kind of all work together, because your hips get your legs in front of you. Sorry, not in front of you. In front of you. We'll call it in front. So in front of you and forwards are 2 different things. All right. In a handstand, anyway, because what's in front of you and what's forward is they're the opposites, aren't they? I don't know. It's hard to distinguish. All right, guys. So basically, your hips will get your feet to come down in front of you. All right, your shoulders will help you close up that angle so that your feet come down towards, or your core comes down towards your hands. Now, obviously it's not going to go that far when you're doing handstands, and what your wrists do is they kind of initiate the movement that the others two are going to do. Okay, and that sounds crazy, but the more you get with your handstands, the more you can kind of isolate these. But until then, it's basically up to your wrists to do all the work, and your shoulders and your hips to kind of follow. All right, so when you're adjusting with your wrists, with your handstands, it really depends on what you're using. If you're just using a flat surface, then you're going to kind of grip the ground like a nice pair of boobs, and grip your ground like that, and then you kind of have this up and down movement with your hand, where you're pushing into the ground with your palms, pushing into the ground to kind of go backwards to stop falling on your back, so you can come down onto your feet. You push into the ground, and then you kind of push in with the bottom of your palms to come back the other way, so you kind of lean forwards as if you're going to do a forward roll out. So that's what your wrists are doing. If you're on parallettes, all right, it's totally different. It's the other direction. It's like if you hold your hands up in front of you and then you wave them side to side, these are your options with parallettes, okay, which actually makes them a lot easier to learn that stability on, because you actually have a range of motion there, whereas when your hands are bent backwards and you're trying to adjust with a tiny little bit of movement, it's quite difficult. So top tip, it's easier to do handstands on parallettes. All right, the only difference is you can't really walk around, and we'll get to that in another. That's about moving. All right, with your handstand you're staying still, so you're not worried about that stuff. So then what are your shoulders up to? So your shoulders, like I say, really what your shoulders are for is correcting your back flexion. So if you're bending over the wrong way, that's because you're like with your feet bending over, almost kicking yourself in the head. That's because your shoulders aren't open enough. Your shoulders, your arms should be straight up in your ears, so which is as open as they can. If you put your hands straight up in the air like you're stretching towards the ceiling, that's what you're going to do in your handstand, except upside down. Okay, if your arms are coming down kind of in front of you at your chest kind of level, then that is terrible posture. Again, it's making it really hard for you. Trust me, it's making it really hard for you. All right, so you need to open up those shoulders and stretch high. When you're adjusting them, really all your shoulders are going to do is come down as if you come into that bad posture, yeah? And what that does is that helps you get your head in front of your hands. All right, and that's important for things like pikes, press handstands, handstand presses, and levering down into a planche press, or an elbow lever. Think 90-degree push-ups, even handstand push-ups. Yeah, your head is coming down in front of you, not coming down vertical. I mean, you can, but your head kind of comes down in front of you, and your shoulders kind of come in front of you a little bit. So, and then your hips kind of counter that, because when your shoulders close that angle and your shoulders and your head move in front of your hands, your hips have to close up so that your legs can come behind your hands to counter that weight. All right, and this is how you do your pikes. It's how you do handstand presses. Like, that's where this part of your stability comes from. And yeah, so that's kind of how they all work. All right, so that's your three options for stabilizing your handstand. Okay, now they're not the only options. All right, you have other options too. You have naughty options, and we'll keep these between us. All right, because they're naughty, and you'll be grounded if I find out you've been doing these. So the first one's back flexion. All right, think like how people do bad handstands when their back's all bent up. You can actually use this to your advantage when you get quite good control of your handstand and of your body when you're inverted, when you're upside down. All right, and you can kind of use this for think like hollow back stuff. And so you can use this for kind of think like hollow back stuff, where your back bends, you bend right over with your back to that kind of 90-degree position, which is very, very difficult. Hollow back is very difficult. And then the next one is another naughty one, and you're not allowed to do it, and that's bend your arms. Okay, because sometimes you bend your arms in handstands, and you know what that does? It makes your handstands so bloody hard, so much more difficult. All right, which is why we have straight arms in the first place. So you can use your arms bend to adjust, and people do this on like the rings, on P-bars and stuff like that, and that's fair enough, because like that's scary as hell because you're right up in the air, and so I'll forgive you if you do that. All right, but on the floor you shouldn't really be doing that stuff. All right, don't bend your arms. You're overloading all of your arms doing that. Like you're ruining your shoulder position. You're ruining the alignment of your body, because when your arms bend, that puts everything out of sync. Nice tall, straight, naughty arm bends are possible adjustments as well. All right, and usually right when you start, and then what happens is you sink as if you're doing a handstand push-up, and you're like shit, and then you have to push back up and try and pin it, and like that's just wasted energy. All right, yeah, you just did your handstand push-up, but like, it probably wasn't good range of motion. I think last episode. So there's one other. All right, guys, there's one more. So the other naughty adjustment for handstands is walking. All right, and walking in your handstands, okay, like that's cool, like that's quite fun, seeing who can get the furthest. But when you're actually trying to stay stable in your handstand, walking is the devil. Okay, you don't want to be walking about, you don't want to be moving your hands to adjust, because that's not working your stability. That is the total opposite. It's compensating for your lack of stability in your handstand. So when you're training your handstand stability, don't, like, walking's naughty, all right? Don't be moving your hands. Keep them nice and plant them hard, like into the ground, and just keep them rooted there. Don't give up, okay? The only time you give up when you're working your stability is when you absolutely have to, all right? So that's if you have to do a rollout because you're leaning so far that you have to fall over, or that you're leaning so far to the left or the right that you have to turn out and give it an old dirty cartwheel, or you come the other way and you just have to put your feet down right in front, right behind you on the ground, just like you came up. All right, that's the only way. Don't move those arms, don't move those hands, no cheating, or I'll be round to sort you out. Never threatened anyone on the podcast before. It's quite exciting. So yeah, walking is a big no-no. You can use it for your hand, for maintaining your handstand, maintaining a handstand, but it is not a way of actually keeping stable in a handstand. It's just compensating for bad stability. All right, so here's a couple of tips for you. All right, the first one is discipline. All right, you gotta keep your arms straight, you got to keep your core tucked in, focus on your positioning, your technique, make sure you're nicely stacked. All right, think about that shoulder angle. It should be your hand should be right above your head or below your head on the ground. All right, the next one is hold to the death. So like I was just saying, do not give up and move your hands. All right, do not give up and come down, hold until you absolutely have to. And you know the dismounts by now because you're working your stability. So just focus on that stability. You can always do your rollout. You can always turn and plant, give it that dirty cartwheel. You can always just come down, land on your feet, and then just give it 10 seconds, catch your breath, and let your traps rest. Okay, trust me, it hurts your traps. So the next one is use the dismounts. Yeah, like I just said, I've given you the dismounts 100 times now, but use them to your advantage. Yeah, you know how to. And also, even though you're trying to work your stability, if you have to come down like how you came up, do a negative press. Like, give me that. Yeah, because that's such a good exercise. And you don't always have the choice, so make the most of when you do. All right, even if it wears you out, like, really pin it, because you never know. That might be the day you learn to do handstand presses. That might be the day you learn to do that pike handstand. All right, that 90-degree smasher, which looks crazy, by the way. All right, guys, that is it. All right, handstand stability. Adjust with your wrists, adjust with your shoulders, adjust with your hips. Keep your legs straight, toes pointed. Keep your arms straight. No cheating, no bending your arms for stability. No walking. All right, and certainly no back flexion. Keep your shoulders open. Keep your core tight. Yeah. That's how you do a handstand. All right, guys, that is it for this episode. As always, thanks for joining me. If you like what you heard, give us a subscribe, give us a like, share us with your mates, training partners, and everyone else, in your contacts. Go through your contacts now and just push. I'm joking, don't harass people with my voice, all right, because that's not nice. I will catch you in the next one. If you want to reach out to me for any reason, conversation, all right, just a chat, have a chat with me about your training, ask me some questions, or you have some any feedback for the podcast, guys. I want to help you with the podcast. All right, that's what the podcast is for, is actually helping you lot with your training. So if you want me to talk about something, if you want to discuss something with me that you think might make a good podcast episode, if you want to come on the podcast, yeah, if you want to just come on and have a chat with me about stuff, I'm open to suggestions. That I want to make it better for you. And yeah, so that helps me really do that. If you either want to reach out to me and talk to me about it, or just give me a review or something, then it would mean a lot, and it would help me to help you guys better as well. So do that. Also, find me at More Than Lifting anywhere. Best place is Instagram, obviously, at More Than Lifting. And if you want to turn your training upside down, get on the 12-week program, morethanlifting.com/12 weeks, and yeah, join up, and I'll see you on the inside. Yeah, otherwise, catch you in the next episode, guys, in a couple of days. And as always, keep in touch with yourself.